Yeah, it's just really nice to see everybody in community at the beginning, and then we'll go ahead and come back at the end. So, yeah. And if you have any questions, please put it in the chat box, the chat feature at the bottom. Share your words of affirmations, love for the community. Feel free to ask questions along the way. We have Nicole Giuliano in the D Center being our wizard behind the scenes, so she's going to be fielding all questions and interacting with folks as we have speakers come on and yeah, share some of their stories. And yeah, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to our student speakers. So Mary, Luis, Mayan, Sab, and AJ, if you can all turn on your cameras so we can see your lovely faces on the screen. That'd be lovely. Yes. Hey. Yeah. Okay, and so for each of our presenters, if you can introduce your name, your pronouns, your year at PLU, academic interest, and what you've been up to this summer, because honestly, we haven't seen each other in a while. So what you've been up to this summer. So I'll go ahead and hand it off to Mary first, and then we'll go from there.
Hello, hi. My name is Mary. I go by she, they pronouns. I am going to be a junior. Wow, crazy. I'm going to be third year in college this upcoming fall. I am studying global studies with a concentration in international relations. And what am I doing this summer? Really nothing. But I've been writing a lot of journaling a lot and writing postcards to people.
Great, cool. And then we'll hand it over to Luis next. And yeah, as people filter in, yeah, Nicole, if you want to instruct them to turn off the camera and then mute yourself, and then that'd be awesome. Okay, so Luis, what you been up to?
Yeah, like Liz said, my name is Luis. I am going to be an upcoming junior this upcoming school year. Pronouns he, him, his. I am double majoring in environmental studies and biology. And this summer I've kind of just been relaxing. I work at grounds for PLU, so kind of just doing yard work, going on roofs, cleaning leaves, making campus pretty for a while. Yeah.
Cool, great to hear from you. Mayan, what you been up to?
Hey, I'm Megan, her, she's, her pronouns. I'm also about to be a junior. That's wild. Just finished my second year at PLU. I'm Chinese studies major, and this summer I actually just moved into a house with some friends, so that's pretty cool. Big changes, living like, as an adult. I guess that's fun. So I think that's the biggest thing I've done this summer, other than hanging out.
Awesome. So we'll pass it to Sab next.
All right. My name is Sab Che. Pronouns are she, they, and I'm gonna be an incoming senior or upcoming senior. And I'm majoring in criminal justice, and my minors are sociology and dance. Almost forgot about that one, and so this summer I've really just been working. I picked up more hours, so I work full time now at a fast food joint. So, that's about it. Yeah, just really just to pay the bills, on quite honestly. But anyway, now pass it to Mary.
Oh, I think we had you. You went.
Or AJ.
Yes, it's my turn.
Okay.
I'm AJ. Pronouns are he, they. I'm going to be a senior this fall, which is a journey. I'm a double major in music and economics. And what I've been doing this summer is learning how to actually cook. And I'm taking a summer class, and I'm also working for Orchestra Recital Series of Tacoma as their administrative assistant.
Awesome. I think that was everybody who went. Yeah, cool. So now we know a little bit about who's going to be on the screen, who's going to be sharing stories. I'm going to pass it off to AJ next again, so to kick off our ceremony with a land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Luke. In the Diversity Center, we open all of our programs with a native land acknowledgement, both at large programs or smaller community gatherings like this. In alignment of the Diversity Center values of critical reflection, perspective taking, community, and care, it is important for us as D-Center community members to disrupt and dismantle oppression, to acknowledge and send gratitude to the Native people and lands of the places that we call home. Since we are virtual, we are being hosted on many different Native lands across the globe. We encourage you to get to know who the Native people are of your place. I want to acknowledge that PLU is on the traditional territory of the Nisqually, Puyallup, Squaxin Island, and Steilacoom people who, prior to the Medicine Creek Treaty of 1854, which removed Native people to clear way for colonial settlement, lived on and cared for this place as their ancestral land. It is important for myself as a settler who calls this place home to acknowledge and send gratitude to these Native people who continue to be leaders for justice in our community today. Back to Luke.
Great, thank you. So hey y'all, today we're celebrating our second annual Pride flag raising ceremony here in Red Square at Pacific Lutheran University, and carrying the torch of this newly established tradition just last year. Although it's only our second annual flag raising ceremony, there have been a 51-year history of pride in our country, which was ignited by a rebellion against police brutality and discrimination. Leaders in the initial movement included Marsha P. Johnson, Stormy DeLavery, and Sylvia Rivera. This year, we are really living the most authentic version of Pride. Although the streets and parade festivals have been canceled, let's take this as a chance to lean into the history of Pride and what it means to be visible during a global pandemic of COVID-19 and racism. I want to take a moment to recognize those who are not able to openly celebrate their gender identity and sexual orientation for their own safety and survival. The recent ruling from the Supreme Court on Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to protect LGBTQ plus people is one step forward, but we still have a long ways to go and a long journey ahead of us to combat other oppressive policies, such as protections rolled back to access to healthcare and insurance for LGBTQ plus people. We hope this year's celebration highlights how the LGBTQ plus community is woven into the fabric of Tacoma. We are part of every community, every neighborhood, and every family. I hope y'all are excited for an amazing crew we have lined up for y'all. So now I'll actually turn it over to Mary, which is our first speaker for our ceremony today. So I'll go ahead and step away, and then if our other participant or our other panelists can go ahead and turn off their cameras so we can highlight Mary.
Hi. First, I would like to say a kwapa. Welcome to this, and thank you for giving me the time to talk about this. As Audre Lorde writes in There Is No Hierarchy of Oppression, within the lesbian community, I am Black. Within the Black community, I am lesbian. There is no hierarchy of oppression, and I cannot afford the luxury of fighting one form of oppression on one and only form of oppression. My existence is my joy and my resilience. I believe that being alive and who I am every day is why I exist and how I find joy. I find being who I am and being the best I can be every single day is how I allow my queerness to show. My Blackness is something that I can never really hide from. It's the color of my skin, and I walk outside and it's who I am. My Blackness comes within the textures of my hair, how I speak, the way I present myself. I had to reclaim my Blackness for myself as it was taken away from me at multiple different facets. And I had to learn how to deal with it in spaces where I was not comfortable being Black in. While my queerness was something discovered so wonderful, it shines wherever I go. I have pride and shame to talk about it at some places because I am African and I am Black. So being Black and African, there's a dichotomy of trying to talk about my queerness. There are days of which I do not want to talk about it. There's days where I wish I could hide it and be appreciative in my queerness and be kind of like my own pocket of joy. But I know that's not what's purposeful for me, at least. I have grown in my identities over the past 3 years of being in college to learn that I'm okay with being called queer. I'm okay with being an anonymous thing. I don't really want to be labeled as anything else. I like to be who I am. Being a QPOC at times sometimes can be really hard, and I know it. I know it's hard. Being in a community where a lot of times you see white faces and you're not able to join in that joy that we're all queer together and we all should be happy together. Sometimes it's hard because I am a POC. But my words to everyone else and to all people is that even when we may not look alike, know that there's community within you. This pride started with a riot and it started by a dark skinned person. And I would like to acknowledge that we started something so beautiful, so great. A lot of POCs aren't able to join in that joy. I think that we have to reclaim that for ourselves. As I reclaim my Blackness and I reclaim my queerness every single day, I think that's something that is something we kind of forget, that when we go outside and you see the propaganda and everyone's joining in this, especially during this time, people are really trying to show their support, to really look into yourself. Do you support yourself? Because sometimes you may support another person and you may support the movement, but if you're not supporting who you are as a person, then you're really not supporting the movement. I realized throughout my year, I think it was the first time Angie ever told me that if I do not take care of myself, I'm being anti-Black. And then I realized that if I do not take care of my body, then itself that I'm not taking care of my joy, the things I want to protect. My existence is what matters, and my existence is what I'm fighting for. Every single day I wake up, I go to sleep, anything that matters to me, my existence has to be something that must be protected. And in my existence is my Blackness, my queerness, and my Africanness, all in them warped together, no matter how long or how big it is. And I want to take a moment to be very clear and apparent that no matter how many days we go and how many during, especially during this time, that you in your body is precious. You deserve love and you deserve happiness. You do not deserve anyone to treat you badly, and you deserve to be as loud and as proud as you choose to be. And I hope that one day you're able to do that. I'm currently not in that space, but that's okay. I'm learning how to deal with my queerness, how to deal with it in a way that makes me happy and uplifts my ancestors. Because of how Southern colonialism happened, I do not know how my ancestors were back in the day. I just know what it is past colonialism, slavery. Obviously, I have a very rich history being Black and both African and knowing that. But I do not know the parts that are erased. But I do know that I am proud to be who I am. And I want you to know that throughout all the hurdles you have gone through, that I honor that. I honor who you are as a person. I honor what your struggles are. I may not know it, I may not see it, but it's something that I want you to know that in this time, that whenever, however you grow in, that I hope you find happiness in your queerness and in your love and your body, in your spaces. So no matter how big or small. Thank you. I like to pass it on to the wonderful and only Megan.
Thanks, Mary. Good to your face, and thanks for sharing such moving words. Wow. I'm going to start with a short story. So today I've been reflecting on my first Pride. It was June 24th, 2018, my 18th birthday. I was officially an adult, and this is how I wanted to celebrate that. Celebrate the freedom of choice and the freedom of love. But I'll save you the tales of my blind excitement and jump to the disappointment. Having pushed my way to the front of the crowd to witness the parade, I realized that I wasn't experiencing humans celebrating love and identity. I was witnessing businesses advertise themselves with rainbow flags next to their logos, and white people demanding spaces from what is and should be celebratory spaces for cutie BIPOC folks. I want to start out completely honest with everyone and say that as a Black queer woman, pride doesn't mean to me what it does for white queer folks. Pride parades and festivals throughout the country are only representations of capitalism and oftentimes exclusion and erasure of my queer and trans, Black and Indigenous people of color communities. Sorry. When I reflect on what pride means to me, I'm not proud and I don't feel seen. So because of that summer, I didn't attend another Pride, partly because I worked all summer and didn't have the days off, but I was also making a choice to prioritize anti-capitalism in my community. So then I'm faced with finding or creating spaces for myself where I do feel celebrated and proud. Being involved in today's event, today's flag raising event, is an opportunity for me to communicate my queer identity, and more importantly, to highlight my queer identity as a Black person. Something that PLU as an institution and those that represent it often fails to recognize. We may raise this flag, but we're not always, and arguably not at all, focusing on the who we owe our pride to, which is queer and trans women of color. Can we hear me now? Can I get like a yes in the group? Perfect. Okay, cool. So I'll start with PLU's job. Our job today and every day should be to educate ourselves on the importance of pride at its roots and recognize who we owe our pride to, queer and trans women of color, and who we owe our land to, Indigenous peoples whose lands and lives were lost to our nation's colonial history. So as we virtually gather and celebrate today, we should be recognizing, thanking, and learning from these people. To begin my work of recognizing and thanking and learning from, I would like to reflect on my community. Having friends and people close to me that share my cutie BIPOC identity has changed my life. The confidence, understanding, and learning that I experience and the love and support that I receive and get to give has been and will continue to be exactly what pride really means to me. I encourage you, everyone tuned in, to join me in reflecting on who your community is. So if we could all take a moment to think about who has impacted you and your pride to this day. If they're tuned in or if you feel moved to share with us, you can say some words in the chat. Some things of thanks, and we'll just kind of take a moment there for that and reflect. We can play music if we want, or it can be silent. That's up to who is in control of the music. So thanks for taking that moment. I encourage you to take that outside of today's event and send thanks and gratitude to your community and the people who create spaces of learning and love for you. I'd now like to, oh, wait, things popping up in the chat. Continue to do that throughout today's event. No, that's totally fine. I'd like to invite Luis onto the screen.
My bad. Okay, yeah, thank you for those beautiful words, Mayan. So if y'all will let me, I will just be rambling on now for a couple minutes. Pride to me means being your most authentic self. Having too much pride is seen as a bad thing, and I saw it as that for a long time growing up. This idea was rooted in my head at a young age because my family was Catholic, and possessing too much pride was one of the 7 deadly sins. And that was the start of the word pride just not having a positive meaning in my head. On top of this, people bring up the anti-gay language in the Bible, but with having to translate so many words into various languages throughout decades, surely altered some wording and phrases. So I'm just tired of people using religion as an excuse to be transphobic or homophobic. I started to loop pride and queer in the same category, but that wasn't always the case. I'm still learning to take back the meaning of the word queer, because I simply didn't like the word up until I came to PLU and it became more commonly used in my life. And even then, my body sort of tenses up when others say it, and even though I know they don't mean any malicious intent, I've experienced the word queer more often in a negative connotation than a positive one. However, pride no longer has that negative feeling attached to it anymore. When I think of pride, I associate it with warmth now, or better yet, nourishment. It seriously just feels like sunshine, and like sunshine, it won't be out for everyone and everything. But once you find the sunshine, you know what time it comes around, and any discomfort is non-existent, and you truly just begin to feel the warm embrace of who you are and who you want to be coexisting. This is easier said than done though, especially when you're a queer POC. It's hard to navigate life when you get judgment and backlash for breaking traditional household values or experience discomfort from people who proclaim to be your friends but don't want to be associated with the fag, or face the fear of getting seriously injured or hurt just by wanting to hold your significant other's hand in public. Personally, coming from a Latinx background, I've experienced machismo culture numerous times from so many Latinx men because they have this self-constructed foundation of sexism and homophobia in their head that they in turn spew out into their family and community, which only adds to the claim of Hispanics being uneducated. Being bisexual has people constantly invalidating my sexuality depending on the partner I have at the time, because people seem to need to place one another in categories to make it easier for them to discriminate one another. And when I was younger, I may not have seen that many Latinx identifying in the LGBTQ plus community, but I am now, and inclusivity will be a demand, not a suggestion. Meeting like-minded individuals, people who think like me, look like me, and have experienced similar life experiences as me with an immense sense of strength, provides me with an immense sense of strength, my bad. It showcases to me that even my people may be dealt with problems and obstacles more intense than I have. It also shows how determined and strong-willed they are, and because they overcame those problems, it usually results in them becoming a stronger person and inspires me to do the same and continue fighting no matter what. Knowledge is another way I find solidarity, because being Latinx, when other Latinxes are aware of their privileges and oppressions they face, just shows me that it's just not me acting irrational, but rather my culture is becoming aware. This search for knowledge is also what makes me resilient. I like to think I keep myself pretty educated on major corporation companies and some popular individuals and see where their morals and values lie. Like if they support Trump or disapprove of the Black Lives Matter movement or say something racially insensitive is usually when I stop supporting. People vote with their dollars, and as long as you keep paying, then oppressors keep on prospering and getting wealthier by being racist or homophobic. And while it sounds easier said than done, if you really do your research, you see a lot of your favorite places have a terrible team of leadership with an even worse team of ideologies. To name a few, Taco Bell, the NFL, Marvel, Amazon, the Home Depot, Revlon, Fox, and so many more. Not only that, but celebrities, artists, and online personalities who have been publicly transphobic, homophobic, racist, or even proven to be rapists or pedophiles, regardless of how long ago it was, just shouldn't just be swept under the rug and ignored by so many people just because they are famous. While it's not my place to accept an apology of someone if they say the N-word or other conflicts that don't necessarily insult one of my identities, most times you can tell the insincerity in their apology, saying things like, "I'm sorry my past made you feel bad," or "it was just all a joke." Basically invalidating the whole situation, so that's why I believe it's just smart to make sure you know who and what I'm supporting show similar stances as me. I challenge you all to do the same. In every action you partake in on a day-to-day basis, is the artist you're listening to, or the fast food chain you're eating at, or even your significant other's morals overlapping with yours, or are you just gonna let those racist comments go by because you want a number 3 meal Coke to drink? And even though we are raising this flag, there is nothing to celebrate because in over 30 countries, being gay is still a crime. And with offenses being anywhere from $1 million fees to death by stoning, I think it's just something important to note. I appreciate that we are lucky enough to have a campus that acknowledges the LGBTQ plus community and wants to support us in any way they can. But while some of my community still cannot be their most authentic selves, we should strive for liberation and self-expression. And the only way to do that is to kick out those corrupt, hypocritical officials who claim to save us but are the ones killing us. And on that note, Black Lives Matter, and especially Black trans lives matter. That's my bad. And now I'll pass it over to Sab.
Yay, okay. Thank you, Louise, for that. That's a good message. So today I'm going to be talking about what pride is to me and how I navigate it. Sometimes in the past it was really difficult for me, and like sometimes even now I struggle with it a little bit. But I wasn't always accepting of myself as I am now. It was only maybe 3 years ago when I started going to PLU, so like back in 2017, is when I truly accepted myself. I was one of those people, or so I've been told by my friends and my partner, that I was one of those people who didn't know I was gay, but everyone else knew I was, which is kind of funny. Sorry. So it was difficult navigating pride at first and defining what pride is. For me, at least, I was confused for most of the time because there's like a lot to understand and unpack and learn about yourself. But the friends that I have made over the years here at PLU have made it easier to find and accept myself. They have helped me with questions that I have had, which are a little personal to share, but were like very important to like getting over barriers of like trying to accept and find who I am. Just give me 1 second. I forgot to breathe. But now in this moment, pride to me is not being scared to say that I'm gay, to not hesitate in expressing myself in like how I dress or what I do and things I participate in and how I present myself. And pride also means to me to encourage and support others in the QTBI POC community. And I think pride is being comfortable and confident with yourself, because I feel like once you have confidence in yourself, it's easier to be prideful when others are not accepting of you. And I hate to say it, but there's going to be those people, sometimes even in your family. But despite that, I feel like the older you become, the harder it is to hide yourself. So like I feel like it gets, as you get older, it's kind of hard to like try and cover that up. But nevertheless, there's no timeline to like the journey of like accepting yourself. Like everyone has their own unique timeline. Oh yeah, I was also gonna say I hate to say like coming out, because you don't see straight people coming out and saying, hey, I'm straight, I'm a heterosexual. Like, so I don't like to say I came out to people. I just like say that I kind of accepted who I was. To wrap it up, I would like to say that my friends give me a lot of strength and were a really big part of helping me understand that I was queer. And because of that, I try to be that for others, because I know how helpful and important that it can be when you're struggling. So, in conclusion, that was it. And now I would like to pass it off to AJ. Sabche signing off.
Thank you for sharing. Again, I'm AJ. I'm president of the Prism Club here, if you didn't know already, which is the LGBTQ+ club for students. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. But Pride began as a violent riot against police raids started by queer people of color. So if you're white, like I am, your queer or trans identity does not allow you to take a backseat to equity. If you haven't already, now is the next best time to engage in anti-racist, anti-ableist activities and to fight for the rights of all of us, not just some of us. I'm very glad that PLU can be a space for many LGBTQ+ folks, including the club that I helped rejuvenate. But that there are so many great resources here as well to engage in activist work, such as the Diversity Center and the Center for Gender Equity, as well as all of the faculty members and staff who are engaged in our community. This flag that you can see so niftily on Luke's screen is a representation of all of the efforts of the incredible people who spoke before me, as well as all of the students and staff from past years who fought for a better campus and a better world. We have a lot of hard work to do to change our world to be more inclusive and more proud. It is time to celebrate and protect Black and Indigenous, queer and trans people all year, not just when it looks good for your social media, especially if you are white like I am. My hope for the future is that queer and trans love, particularly Black and Indigenous queer and trans love, can exist safely and happily anywhere in the world. All of my love goes out to those of you who are unable to share your identities freely. I know how that feels, as I only came out to my parents last month. I'm 21 years old, and I want you to know that there is support out there and people who are ready and waiting to support you. To share my Pride experience, I experienced my first Pride while I was living in California, so I was actually able to attend San Francisco's Pride Parade. I remember crying on the BART train, which is the high-speed rail, because I had never experienced an environment that was so entirely supportive before. Pride has unfortunately become more corporatized, as we've heard already today, but the fighting spirit of the LGBTQ plus community is still clear. If you show up in the morning to San Francisco Pride, you get to see all of the incredible activist groups saying their chants and their cheers and fighting for real rights for the community, not just emblazoning a rainbow over a logo. So I've slowly been able to find pride in myself and those like me. I am grateful for all of the places I have found at PLU that allowed me to exist with other trans folks, high-fiving or fist-bumping in the halls and sharing in conversation about identity. That is where I truly find queer joy. In particular, I've been able to find community in my residence hall. My favorite memories of the gender inclusive wing in Hinderley is getting caught up talking to my neighbors in the hall and ending up sitting on the floor together with most of the wing for hours, just talking about our interests and our identities. Simply vibing. I will forever hold those experiences in my heart. Finally, let's remember, Black lives matter, Black queer lives matter, and Black trans lives matter. Back to you, Luke.
As we're coming to an end of our virtual celebration, a round of applause for our amazing stories, authenticity, and vulnerability from our presenters. Yes. Thank you all for attending the event to show support and showing up for our queer community. Although our pride flag is only raised in July, it symbolizes the year-round commitment and care we have to our queer community members. And so now, speaking of that, let's fly our flag high. Woo, woo, woo. Okay, so I'm going to go over there and crank it with Yvonne. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Luis to close us out.
Hello again. Thanks again for tuning in today. As a friendly reminder, we are hosting Queer Coffee Connections on July 10th from 12 to 1:30 p.m. It's a space to gather, share stories, check in, laugh, and celebrate being queer. Bring your own beverage of choice or snack to Queer Coffee. Please check the PLU campus calendar for more details. Also, for those who would like some PLU swag, the Loot Locker is doing a month-long promotion on all rainbow gear. Thank you to all the speakers and audience members who dropped by today to support our LGBTQ plus community. See you around and happy Pride.